Okay, so we'll start off with algebraic representation and formula today. Okay, now the first thing that you guys need to understand or know over here is what a variable is, what a coefficient is, and what your constants are. All right, so let's suppose I have 3x plus 5. Okay, now from this guy over here, I'm sure you guys can identify that 3x is going to be the coefficient of x. Okay, this is the coefficient. This x right here is a variable. All right, why do we call this a variable? Because it doesn't have a fixed value. The value of this guy can change at any time. Okay, and on the other hand, we're left with 5, this guy. This is called a constant. All right, why is it called a constant? Because it's a constant number and the value is fixed. It does not change. Okay, now within this, you'll understand, you'll observe. Let's suppose if I write this down like this, so I have 3a squared plus 5a plus 9, let's say, right? Now if I write this down individually, what do you call them? We need to understand that these are terms. Now let's talk about expressions and equations. So equation, no difference whatsoever. The only thing different about expressions and equations are that expressions are just like this right here. Okay, they're just a combination of different terms. All right, however, an equation is basically an expression but equal to something, maybe equal to 4, maybe equal to 0, whatever. Okay, now this is what your equation would be. Now this is obviously the different types of equations that we're going to be doing, linear equations or quadratic equations, and these things, but those are different things altogether. There are different types of equations that you would see. Now we call these expressions or these equations as polynomials, basically. All right, as they basically consist of one or more terms. All right, so polynomial is basically an algebraic. These are an algebraic expression which consists of one or more terms. Okay, now that's that. Now we have a couple of rules, basic basic algebra rules that I'm pretty sure you guys already know, and there's a couple of basic algebraic equation rules that we're going to be doing. Okay, so when we're talking about basic algebra rules, so the first one is that your like terms can be combined or compressed into a single term. Now what do I mean by that? What I mean is, let's suppose I got 5a squared plus 2a plus 7 plus 6a plus 3, let's say. Now you need to identify the like terms over here. In this case it's 2a and 6a. They're both the same things. All right, they're like terms, they're similar to each other. So what you can do is you can combine them and write them as one. So plus 2a plus 6a will give you a plus 8a. Similarly, 7 and 3 over here, there are like terms, and you can just simply add them or just do the mathematical operation, whatever is there in the question, right? That's basically what the first law is, or the first rule is, that you can combine like terms into a single term. Okay, so let's write that down. Like terms can be combined into a single term. Okay, next up we have that whenever we're multiplying or dividing, right, the coefficients and the variables are basically multiplied or divided. Okay, now what do I mean by that? Let's see, let's suppose I got 10 times 4a times 2a over 2 times 2a over 2, right? In this case, the coefficients are multiplied together, so this 4 will be multiplied with 2, this 10 will be multiplied with 4, okay, and I'll get 80 over 2 in terms of the coefficient, all right? But the variables are also multiplied with each other, all right? So when the variables will be multiplied, in that case, obviously I have a and a over here, this will combine and multiply to a squared. That's what it's going to give me, all right? So you need to understand that when you're multiplying, the coefficients and the variables, both of them will be multiplied with each other. Multiplication or division, the variables and the coefficients are both multiplied and divided. There you go. Right. And now, obviously, in the end, if you further simplify, you get 40 a squared. Since obviously you have division happening over there. Okay, let's see. Now, so whenever you have an expression, all right, and the expression has obviously the expression has a number which is outside the bracket, and it's technically supposed to be multiplied. What will happen is that each and every single term within the bracket, it needs to be multiplied by that number. Okay, now what do I mean by that? Let's suppose I have a situation where I've got 5 times a squared plus 2a plus 4. All right, so what I'm doing, I'll have to multiply 5 with every single term that's in the or within the bracket. So I end up with 5a squared plus 10a plus 20. Okay, so that's the third law, the third rule that you'll have. So when an expression in brackets is multiplied by a number, each term within the brackets must be multiplied by that. Okay, now I was talking about basic algebraic equation rules earlier on. I mean, I'm pretty sure you guys already know this. Now let me write that down. So basic algebraic equation rules. Let's see. Now, the first one would be that equal numbers will be or may be added or subtracted from each side if you're supposed to, solve a certain equation or an expression or whatever equation basically. But let's suppose I have x squared plus 5 equals to 10, right? What will happen is it's not like I'm gonna just, whenever I take it over there, this becomes 10 minus 5. That's not what actually is happening. What's happening is that you're basically it's the exact same thing. All you're doing is you're basically subtracting or adding the same thing from both sides. Okay, so technically this is what you get. This is what we normally do. That's what our normal practice is, but on the back end, this is basically what's happening. Okay, so you can write down that equal numbers may be added or subtracted from each side. Okay, now we got another pointer, same thing, that each side may be multiplied or divided by equal numbers. Once again, except 0, because if you're dividing or multiplying with 0, then there's no point of doing it in the first place, right? So let's suppose I got x minus 7 over 2 equals to 4. Okay, so what do we normally do? We just take this over here and you get x minus 7 equals to 2 times 4. That's what we do, right? But that's not what's actually happening. What actually happens is that you multiply 2 on both the sides. This way, this 2 and this 2 is cancelled, and that's how you get x minus 7 equals to 2 times 4. Okay, so another point that you can write that each side may be multiplied or divided by equal numbers. Okay, except 0, obviously. Okay, now that's basically it. That's about the basics of algebra. Now we're going to start off with algebraic manipulation. Okay, this is the real deal. This is something that you guys will probably be doing more. Okay, but once again, it was important first to understand how things were done on the basic level first to talk about this. Okay, now algebraic manipulation. This is basically how you play with algebra in your course. Okay, now the examiner might test you in a couple of ways. All right, the first thing that the examiner might give you is they might ask you to change the subject of your of the question, right? So I'm sure if you've done, if you've opened the book previously, if you've ever tried out these questions, you will have a question where the examiner gives you an equation. Let's suppose you have an expression, or sorry, you have an equation that goes like y equals to x plus 5 over xy. Let's call this z actually. Okay, and now they're asking you to, this is what the question says. Question goes like, express x in terms of z and y. Okay, now in this case, what you're supposed to do is you're supposed to rearrange. Okay, you're gonna rearrange the entire thing to make x your subject. Right now, what do? You basically take, you multiply on both sides with xy, or you take it on the other side. In other words, this will be x y squared equals to z plus 5, right? And that's how you get x equals to z plus 5 over y squared. Okay, fair enough. So yeah, so the second thing that the examiner might ask you is, when you are, they would want you to solve algebraic fractions. Solve algebraic fractions. Okay, now in this case, let's suppose I got a question that looks like this. 1/4 equals to, let's say, x. What you do is you'll have to take the LCM in this case and solve accordingly. Right, so you get 4x plus 3 times x plus 2 over 12 equals to x. then you're left with 4x plus 3x plus 6. This 12 is going to go over there. It's going to be 12x. Let's say you get 7x plus 6 equals to 12x. You can take the 7 over there. This becomes 6 equals to 12x minus 7x. You get 5x over here equals to 6. Therefore, x equals to 6 over 5. All right, very simple, very easy, but another type of question that you might get in the exam. All right, now this is when this is another thing that you will get where you will just simply be asked to simplify a given algebraic expression, right? This is the third type of question the examiner might ask you, when you will be asked to just simplify algebraic expressions. Okay, now so let's suppose you got a question that looks like this: 4x plus 7. Let's say all you have to do is just simplify this guy into 8x plus 28. So that's that.